guess I don't need that. Hi guys. Welcome back to more videos. Now that we're in Orange, I'm going to switch us back to kind of doing the method that we did before, where we take notes online and we practice in class. This is something that we did in our last class period, so translations, so moving graphs left, right, up, down, that kind of stuff. So I just want to give you guys official notes over it. This is super quick, and that's all I have to do today, so it's going to be awesome. So there are what we call parent graphs. Parent graphs are what our graphs normally look like. For a linear, meaning a line, our parent graph is just y equals x. Okay, x is to the first degree. Okay, we'll go more in degrees later. Meaning that it's going to be a straight line. So our parent graph for this one is we start at 0, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. We can also go backwards, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Boom. And that is our parent graph for our line, a linear parent graph. Quadratic is given by the equation y equals x squared. Okay. We worked on this the last couple days. An x squared gives us a parabola, that's what it's called, which our point starts right at 0, and we go up and up. We have what's called the axis of symmetry, it goes right down the middle. This right here is known as our vertex, and what happens on one side of my axis of symmetry and vertex happens on the other. Okay. Last thing is the absolute value. I went over this in class a little bit. Absolute value is given by y equals absolute value of x. Okay. Do not think about absolute value as only positive numbers, because you're going to get it really wrong if that is what you decide to do. I need you to think at absolute value as a distance. Okay. So a distance away from 0 is technically what it means. So if I'm at absolute value of 5, I'm 5 away from 0. If I'm at negative 5, the absolute value of negative 5 is 5 because I'm 5 numbers away from 0. Okay, it's a distance, not a positive number. It's completely different. Okay, so think of distance when you think of absolute value. So when we do absolute value, we are given a v, like so. Okay, and we went over this in class. These are parent graphs, so this should be a refresher. Down here, we're going to graph the function on the coordinate plane. Okay, when we are given an equation like this, x, or the absolute value of x squared minus 2 plus 5, what I like to do is write the parent graph down just so I can see what I'm changing. So this is my parent graph, the absolute value. Same thing as what I wrote up here. And now I'm going to change it and translate it. Okay. I have a negative 2 on the inside. What that does is anything I have in the inside of a parentheses, like a linear or quadratic, or inside of my absolute value, moves things left to right. Okay? Because this is a negative 2, we have to do the opposite of it and move it positive 2. So we're going to go 1, 2. That's a new point right there. What this does right here, the positive 5 on the outside, anything on the outside of my parentheses that's being added or subtracted is moving up or down. Because it's a positive 5, we're going to move it up. We're going to make it higher. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My new graph, my new graph is here, up, and up. So my green graph that you can see is my new graph for my absolute value. Number 2 is a parent graph of a square, so that means it's going to be a parabola. So I'm going to start here. This is what my parent graph normally looks like. Okay. Just like how in the absolute value, anything on the inside of parentheses or absolute value being added or subtracted. So for here, it's moving left or right. Same thing here. Because this is a negative 3, we're going to move it to the positive. We're going to move it to the left, to the right. Positive 3. So 1, 2, 3. Also, this becomes a positive 4 on the outside of my parentheses. Anytime we add or subtract on the outside of parentheses, we're moving up or down. It's a positive 4, so we're moving up 4 right here. This is what my new graph looks like. The third one on a sheet I want you to do on your own. Alright, so we are going to graph the following graphs. It says don't worry about domain and range, but I'm not too concerned about domain and range right now. We'll talk more about that in class. So for this one, it is to the first degree. Okay, so there's like just like imaginary little 1 out there. That means the first degree. And so it's going to be a line. So my parent graph for my line is something like this. So now I need to shift it. Just like on the first page when we talked about absolute value, we are going to shift this one. This is on the inside of my parentheses. So that means that is moving left or right. Anything on the inside of the parentheses moves left or right. And this is a -4. So we're going to move to the positive side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. And we're not moving up at all because there's nothing on the outside. We're not shrinking or expanding because there's nothing being multiplied out here. So this is just a line like this. Boom. Easy peasy. On the opposite idea, the second one is an absolute value. Okay, that's the parent graph because we have absolute value signs. So I'm going to draw my parent graph right now. And my -4 is on the outside of my absolute value. So we're not moving left or right. When it's on the outside, that moves up or down. Okay? So because this is a -4, this is actually going to move down 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And that is my new graph. All right. I want you to try this third one on your own. As you can see, what I did here is I shifted over my point starting at 0. I shifted it over 5, okay, being that this is a -5 on the inside, so I have to move it to the right 5. And then that +2 is on the outside, so we're moving it up 2. Boom, that is my new line. Okay. This last one I want to talk about because there's something being multiplied on this outside, okay, which we'll see that a lot in the next coming days. But that little negative on the outside means we're going to flip. So right now our parent graph of our function is something like this. When we have a multiply by a negative on the outside, it's being multiplied because it's being squished together. That means to flip it, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my vertices. This is a +2 on the inside of the graph. So that means I'm going to move left 2, because it's positive on the inside, I got to go to -2. So I'm going to erase that really quick. My new vertice is over 2 and down 1 because that -1's on the outside. Over 2, down 1. And I need to flip my graph because it's a negative out there. So there you go. That's all you need to know. Good job. So I've put this little summary here so that it can help you when you take a test or a quiz or whatever it may be. So when we have something like, I'm just going to do x squared, and then something being multiplied, so this is a multiplied on the outside. Like, so say we have like -2, okay? That decides what direction my graph is going and if it's shrinking or growing or expanding. So we know it will shrink. It will shrink when it is a number larger than 1. So any number greater than 1. So in this case, this is going to be shrinking or getting narrower. So as my graph continues, it's going to be going negative. Okay. If I have like the number itself, so 2 right here is greater than 1, so it's going to be a shrinker. I know it's going to expand or grow when my number is less than 1. So anytime you have a fraction, so say that's a 1/2 out front, it's going to be getting wider. Okay? It takes a lot longer for it to grow out. It's not a very good look for me. All right, so inside the parentheses, okay, inside the parentheses is when we add or subtract. So, for example, if we did x plus 4, it's inside the parentheses. What happens there is when we move left or right. So if this is a positive number, positive, we move to the left. And if it is a negative number, we move to the right. Okay, or the opposite of what's in there. So because this is a positive 4 in here, we have to go to the left 4 or be at -4. Adding or subtracting on the outside of the parentheses. So for example, this one is like x plus 4. Okay? Anytime that's a positive on the outside that's being added or subtracted is moving up. Okay? Anytime we have a negative or it's being subtracted, for example, like x minus 3, that means it's negative, so it's moving down. Last little bit, multiplication is if it's multiplied by a positive or a negative. So for example, if I had negative 2x squared, this is going to be moving down or opposite. Is it frozen? I don't know what happened, it froze. So because this is a negative out front, let's make this an x squared, it's going to be facing down, it's going to be a frowny face. Negative means frowny face. And anytime it's a positive 2 out front, it's going to be our normal way, like a smiley face. If you can remember all this, you're going to do just fine on your test, okay? So tomorrow, at home, you're going to be practicing this. Come your next class period, you're going to be practicing this. You'll be just fine, I promise. Just get lots and lots of practice.